Hello class, welcome to week 4 and lesson 4 of our exciting course, interesting course. This week we'll be looking at the use of ICT for reviewing literature for a doctoral thesis. I brought experts, international experts for you for this lesson. And over my right, introduce yourself.
Je m'appelle
Okay, right. Wonderful. And wonderful. Now, so today is about literature review. Let's start with what literature review is, and let's ask from our experts, from France. Expert from France. Speaking in French, tell us what literature review is.
Okay. La revue de la littérature est une revue des choses que les gens ont fait, les académiciens ont fait dans les thèses, les papiers académiques et tout ça.
Okay, very good, very good. Now, you're going to translate this for us in English. Can you do that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you got to let your voice go, please.
Literature review is all about academic journals, articles, theses, papers generally written by people in the past.
Oh, fine. So, written by people in the past, reviewing that literature, not just about the papers. Because here we have books, conference proceedings, journals, and several things which we call literature. This is literature that we have to review. And this is a journal. And we are happy to show you the contribution of the director of the Doctoral School of the University of Burundi, Professor Juma Shabani, to this edition, this issue of the journal, volume 2, number 1 of 2013, entitled Promoting Cultural Expressions in Africa Through Education by Juma Shabani. So this is a literature. Anybody who's interested in studies of cultural expressions in education, they've got to review this literature. So in reviewing the literature in those days, before ICT gained prominence in scholarship, I recall that when I was doing my doctoral dissertation about 40 years ago, I was asked to go review the literature by my supervisor. What did I have to do? I had to go to the library, and as soon as the library, I pick up this book, I will read through it. It may take me like 2 days to extract relevant literature from this. I will take another book, journal, conference proceedings, I will read through this. I will go to another shelf, follow me, I go to another shelf in the library and then read through this. I will go to, I keep going all over the place. It took me like 6 months to review the literature relevant to my area at the University of Ibadan. Today, thanks to ICT, it will take me 10 minutes to visit all the libraries in the world. All the libraries in Nigeria, Harvard Library, MIT Library, all the libraries. How do I need to do that? Through ICT. I'm looking for my phone. I mean, with my phone or with my, just like we have been doing it in class. All I need to do is get this tool, Google Scholar. I will search through all the literature that I find relevant in my field. So that is what we are in for this week. It's going to be a very enjoyable lesson. So still continuing on our discussion on literature review, I'd like you to know that there are two worlds for a scholar. The world of the known and the world of the unknown. You can see, I'm holding a torchlight. The world of the known and the world of the unknown can be exemplified by saying you enter a stadium in Bujumbura in the dark, or you enter a stadium in Lagos in the dark, and you hold this torchlight. The area of the known is given by the circle that the light covers. As you can see in the stadium, the vast area is still unknown. So we're trying to demonstrate here the area of the known by all these books. You know, we talk about literature review, and we have to bring our literature from there to this place to show that this is the area that we know within the literature. And if you notice, it's like a circle. The edge of the circle, like this, we call the frontier of knowledge. That is the end point of what we know. From here out there is dark, unknown. So what every scholar, every researcher, every doctoral student will want to do will be to get to know all these things, all the area of the known, which is your literature review, and then be able, at the end of the day, know the frontier of knowledge in that area. And you now devise your methodology and conduct your research to be able to expand the area of the known. Now, let me turn to our scholars. These are scholars from which country?
Nigeria.
From Nigeria? Yeah, how about you?
Nigeria.
Oh, so let me ask Ibuku here. What area are you working on?
I'm working in the area of health security.
Health security. So what will you be doing with regard to
I'll be reviewing health-related literatures here.
Yes.
And then after that, I'll revise methodology to
Yes.
be able to expand
Yeah,
the frontier of knowledge
expand it.
health security
Exactly.
into the unknown.
Very good. Yes, how about you?
I'm working on the area of food security.
Food security, yes.
Yes, I'll be reviewing literatures here on food, and then I will expand to area of the unknown.
Very good. Now let's talk to people, yes.
Yes, sir. I was working on human security.
Human security, yes.
Yes, sir. And I'll be reviewing literatures from different papers, different theses, and different books here, and expanding the knowledge, not reinventing the wheel.
Very good. So expand it. Let's see how you're going to expand. Very good. So you're expanding. So at the end of the day, the four of us, let us all do it together. Let's expand the area of knowledge. I'm working on the environment, so I will have expanded like this. I will expand it like this. So expand yours. Expand yours. Wonderful. So next year, maybe later in the year, another group of scholars. So let us all leave this place. Let's leave this place. So another group of scholars will then come. When they come, they will find that the frontier of knowledge has expanded, and then they will now have more literature to review. Oh yes, so welcome back to class, and we're welcoming you all from that virtual class that we held on Friday, May 11th. Welcoming back Richard, Damilare, Akkad, Kayon, Emanuela, Clermont, and all of you, Melans. We welcome you back to class. The objectives of our lesson for today are five objectives. The first thing we'll do, like we did in the introduction, is to now define literature. Recall that Madam Binkwe defined it for us. We're going to get onto another definition, well, almost like the same thing of it. We're now going to take on objective number 2, which is state the purpose of literature review. Why do we want to do literature review? The third is to differentiate. That means look at differences between good literature review and poor literature review. And the fourth thing is for us to look at the steps in literature review using ICT. And the last thing, which will take most of the time, for 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to move very fast. But for 5, because this is using ICT for literature review, we're going to now carry out practical exercises or the steps which we have identified here in the conduct of literature review. So let's take on objective number 1, that is to define literature. My colleague and friend, Professor Barry Fraser, we worked together in Australia, 1991. There are several definitions, by the way, of literature, but I just picked his because it is short I also have defined it in a number of ways in some of my works, but I'm going to settle for that of Fraser. Fraser defined the literature as the body of published works in a particular subject. Why I like that of Fraser is that he underlined this adjective there, published. That is not published, you cannot see it. You cannot access it. So it could be some unpublished materials here and there, which are okay, because unpublished thesis, unpublished project reports, you can also use them. But for Fraser, he regards literature as what everybody can have access to, published. So what do we have within the definition of literature? We have books, we have journals, we have articles, newspapers, magazines, theses, all of these that we discussed earlier. So it's a very large pool of resources, which can be like hard copy or electronic. You note that during the introduction, I showed you some hard copies of books and journals, and we can also have them electronic in different levels. Oh, you can see this woman also doing a literature review with her iPad. Why not? So, objective number 1 is done. Let's take on objective number 2. What is the purpose of literature review? Why should you, for instance, Emanuela Aishaki, do literature review on your title From Verbs to Discourse Markers, a couples-driven study of perception of verbs in Kirundi? Or Giscard Matakara, why should you do literature review on your study on lithostructural and morphological control of Middle Proterozoic formations and all of that? And also Abonima Laurent, we are solving the tectonic metamorphic evolution of Karagwe-Akolian belt. So why should you do literature review in all of this? Now, I'd like you to pause this for a moment, and you all in class, just reflect on the purposes of literature review. Just pause it and maybe write 1 or 2 or 3 down. For me, I'm able to see that the central purpose of literature review is to let you take a critical look at the published works. I'm referring now again to Barry Fraser, who said published works that already exist in the area you are researching. So, taking a critical look at the purpose. Now, I've also identified 6, from this one, I've identified 6 other major purposes. So, why do I want to do literature review for my paper of you for your doctoral thesis? Is to enable you distinguish between what has been done from what needs to be done. In our introduction, we showed you the area of the known and the area of the unknown. So the area of the known, you want to be able to know what has been done before, and then what needs to be done, the dark area. So it means that you got to come to the frontier of knowledge and be able to get to see all those things in the area that is lit, and then look at those ones that are not lit. Number 2 is to enable you identify new ways to interpret and shed light on any gaps in previous research. Number 3, if there are conflicts among seemingly contradictory previous studies, is to enable you able to resolve them, because you are going to now be in a position to look at the different at perspectives that the original researchers have not been able to see. So 3 more that I'm listing for you is to identify areas of prior scholarship to prevent duplication of effort. You will recall that Bingpe in the introductory segment of this lesson talked about her doing work on human security, and she doesn't want to keep duplicating the effort. You see, it's important for us to know that, because there are some studies that have already been done, and you actually know the answer. It's just like my receiving an article for publication in an international journal that says the challenges facing science teachers in Burundi. Oh, I know that thousands of such studies have been done, and they're all repeating the same thing. So why should I be excited for international audience? So I would not recommend that journal for that article for publication. The same thing for the thesis. If you are doing a thesis that is something that's already known, The literature is very dense and very thick in that, so it's not going to excite anybody. So that's the reason you have to do literature review, to see what others have done, whether it is an area that is done and done and done and done all over, so that you can take on new trajectory. The other one is to point the way forward for further research. And you see, like you found out in course of your literature review, that you have somebody saying, okay, this what I've done, this is an area that is worthy of being attended to by other researchers. The last one is to place your original work, like in case of your thesis, in the context of existing literature. I want you to note that literature review is not a shopping list. It's not a list of everything that exists, but it's critical analysis. For instance, you can see the books that we put together in the introduction. It's just a question of your just telling you the title, who the authors are, and what they found. For instance, I may not be interested in just saying that Lumami Kapelula evaluated ecotoxicological risk among the river people in Burundi, or that David Mbonabuka talked about, found that shareholding structure and enterprise financial performance could boost Burundian enterprises. That's just a shopping list. But you see, a literature review should be a critical analysis that shows an evaluation of the existing literature and the relationship between the different works. We'll come to this, practical. Our lesson today is practical. As I said, these first four objectives are we're going to go very quickly, but we're going to have some very interesting practical sessions. So, objective number 3, what is the difference between good and poor literature reviews? I have a table here. Can you think about some yourself based on what you have just said earlier? What would be a good literature review? What would be a poor literature review? But you see, I have a table here for you. As I said earlier, a poor literature review will just do storytelling. This person said this and found this. Descriptive, and just a compilation of who did what, when, and their findings. It's like an annotated bibliography. I'll show you an example. Now, this is a literature review of a doctoral work. And what you are finding is Agborohoma and this person started their research in this and all of that. Agoke, they were of the opinion that. So it's just storytelling. Ahmed and Ahmed claimed that. So this is just storytelling. And Walu also noted in his study that this person and all of that. So this is storytelling. This is poor literature review. But the good literature review, wonderful, be a report of critical analysis and synthesis of previous research, an extract of unanswered questions. A good literature review is evaluative rather than mere descriptive. We're going to get there. You're going to see clear examples of good literature review as this lesson progresses. Poor literature review is narrow, and very shallow. But the good one is very comprehensive in breadth and depth. The poor literature review is confusing. Like the one I show you is long-winded if you like. That means just going long story, mixing themselves, coordinated. But the good literature review is very clear, is concise, and arranged in themes or interconnected segments. There could be more that you can list, but these are the 3 that I've just summarized. The teacher doesn't know it all. We are all learning in this. Okay, so that takes us to objective number 4, to identify the steps in literature review using ICT. If you can just reflect on the steps that it went through in the conduct of literature review for your first degree project report, for your master's, you'll find that there are some clearly defined steps, but I've listed some steps here, 5 of them, 5 steps that we are going to walk through during the course of this lesson. So, what are the 5 steps? Step number 1 is to get the ICT tool that you want to use for your literature search. Step number 2, you use the tool that you have obtained to search for relevant literature for doctoral study or research. Use that tool. First, get tool. Next, use the tool to search. Third, scan through the pages of the search, selecting and saving relevant studies in your local drive. If you recall, in lesson 2, number 2, part 2, we went through some of these steps. Number 4 is to read through and review each saved study and enter review into the summary table. You will like the summary table that I'm going to provide for you towards the close of this lesson. Then write your review chapter from the entries in the summary table. So let's take on step number 1, which is to get the ICT tool for our literature search. So how do you do that? There are several tools that are available. Indeed, I did do a search of the tools, and what did I find? Yeah, so my search was software for literature search, and I got about 21 million results. Of course, not all would be 10 software tools for more PhD productivity and less headaches. Software tools for supporting literature review. Let's even see this one. Software tools for more productivity. Let me open a new tab. Okay. Yeah, so we have this 10 software tools for more PhD productivity and less headache. Interesting. So let me just scroll very quickly through this. Rules of thumb to choose software for a PhD. Choose simple software. Choose the software your colleagues choose. Choose software that syncs your data. Oh, that's Ramadan. Ramadan is very fast in responding to my mails. You can see I sent this just this morning, the timetable, and it's responded. Well done, Yadwi Ramadan. Okay, so the tools are this. Let me just say, literature management. Mendeley is recommending Mendeley, and you can download Mendeley here. There's also Evernote. It's one of the Microsoft Office suite, Evernote, and all of that. I don't want to waste much of the time on this. You can find time to look at this because the choice of our tool for this course is Google Scholar. Google Scholar, because of its versatility, because it reaches out to wide databases of electronic resources, books, journals, everything that you may probably need. Of course, you are free to choose any other tool, but for this course, it's Google Scholar that we are looking. So I've done step 1. Step 2 is now for you to use this tool to search for relevant literature for your doctoral study or research. So we're going to begin with some good practice. Yeah, so in beginning our practice, as you noted, the first step is in getting that tool. The tool is Google Scholar. So let's get it. So as we said in an earlier lesson, I think that's lesson 2, part 2, to get Google Scholar, all you need to do is just Google Scholar, or you put it on the address bar to be able to locate it. So I'm Googling Google Scholar, and this is what it is. Of course, this is the URL. That is a site which you can save as a favorite. So let me click on Google Scholar. So it's giving me Google Scholar. What I've asked you to do is to save it as a favorite. You have different ways. Yes, this add to favorite. Yeah. So if you look at it here, it will be the last one that you will see here. Yeah. So this is Google Scholar. So next time, all you need to do is just drop down favorite and get there. If you are using whatever the browser that you are using, you have this browser here. So you say Google Scholar, this Google Chrome by itself, and then you can add it to favorite. Let me make this bigger. Yes, so Google Scholar. So this is what it is. So I click on it. So I have Google Scholar on another browser. Of course, you can have it in the latest Explorer, which you can just type Google Scholar there. So I've opened Google Scholar on 3 different browsers. Not 3 different browsers. The Internet Explorer, which is this one, is a newer one. You click on it, and it gives you Google Scholar. So whichever one you're looking at is fine, and you can save as a favorite for any of those. So let me go on to the first one that I did. Yeah, this one here. Now, the second step is to do my search. Do my search for what? Do my search for the topic that my supervisor had picked. You know, in the lesson on using ICT tools for deriving the title, which we walk through practically, we ended up with these 2 titles, and I showed this to my supervisor, and my supervisor said yes, yeah, let's go with this. Contribution of off-farm and non-farm income, make it bigger, to farm productivity and food security in Burundi. So that's the one he likes. So I want to do literature review on this one. It's just like doing literature review on any of other topics. You notice that these are the topics that we agreed upon as tentative. I just scroll quickly through this. If you find your name, these are the topics that you proposed. Rene's busy DFT analysis of raw vibrational spectra of substituted thiophenylcarbonitrile derivatives, and all the others like that. Those are yours. This is mine. So what do? I just copy this, and I go to my tool. Google Scholar. I want to search for articles relating to the title of my thesis, and then do literature review. I review them. Oh, it's not pasting. Yeah, so I've pasted it here. Let me make it bigger again. That's it. Contribution of off-farm and non-farm. So that's the title. So I'm doing a search. I've just clicked on this to begin my search for the relevant articles, and it has come with make it just bigger. Yeah. So you can see I have 722 results, meaning that if all of them were articles that I like, there will be about 722 articles. Of course, more than enough for the literature that I will cite for my study. But of course, not all of them will be relevant for your work. So the third step is, so we have used the tool to search for relevant literature. Third step is to scan through the pages of the search, selecting and saving relevant studies in your local drive. This is where we are now. And then, but let's remind ourselves of the next steps. Read through each one, and then write your literature review chapter. Read through and review each saved study, and enter the review in the summary table. You know, I mentioned this summary table that is very important. I'm going to show you even before I get to this step. So let's scan through the pages. Yeah, so these are the pages, quite a number. But what I want to do is look at the studies that are relatively more recent. What does that mean? It means those ones maybe for the purpose of my work, those that have been conducted recently. If you look at here, let me make this bigger. I'll go to it. We have, let's see. Okay. You see custom range. I want it to be between 2015 and 18. If I do since 2014, it will go 2014 to 2018, 2017 to 2018. But I want it from 2015 to 2018. So all you need to do is just click on custom range, and I want 2015 to 2018, and I will go to search. So what have we got? You can see it searching. Well, that's 70. Okay, we have only 174. Well, I'm happy with that. And then we go on to begin to see these ones, assessing the cross-sectional and intertemporal variety of the household food insecurity access skill. This looks quite good. And as we learned in the last lesson, what we begin to do now is to select the ones that we want, saving them to the hard drive. Can you recall how we did them? Well, what we did was, if we say we like this, we can come to here and the PDF will right click it to open it in a new tab, because we want to keep seeing this page. That is why I want to open in a new tab. So it's open, and so this is it. Assessing the cross-sectional and okay, that's fine. So it's giving me the whole article. As you can see, methods, and I see all of this. So this is nice. And can you recall what we said we'll do? In that step, we'll save to our local drive. And so you just go to File, Save As. Now, I've got to, okay, it's taking me back to that. That's very nice. But for today, I'm in lesson 4. And so I can say, Save Literature. And click on this. And then this is good. I can say good one for this one, or good one, yes. Good one. So it is saved. And I can maybe close this because I'm going to come back to be reading through all of them. Yes, let me make this bigger now. Let's see, what am I doing now? Okay, I think it's this one here. Yes, so potential impact of alternative agricultural technologies to ensure food security and raise income of farm households in Rwanda. Looks okay. This one looks quite good. Assessing the cross-sectional. That's what I did now. Yes, this is what I did. Burundi. It's talking about Burundi here. Employment conditions in Senegalese horticultural export industry, a worker perspective. Maybe not. Are there options outside livestock? Maybe not. Determinants of market participation and intensity of marketed surplus of this, maybe not that. This is a book, Africa's Changing Farmland Ownership, Rise of the Emerging Investor. No. Yeah, this one, the farm size productivity, okay, wide range of farm sizes. I think this may be it. And although I don't know whether it's, you must have mentioned Burundi at some point here. So I'll go to this, right click, open this, and then this. Yes, come on. Let's give coming down now. Yeah, so this is it. I thought we saw this. Oh yeah, the last one. This looks quite good. Yes, it's nice. So we save it. Okay, we can call it good too. Wonderful. So we keep going on like that until we have looked at the 174. So this number 2, number 3, number 4. That's second page. So determinants of, yeah. So we'll keep going. It may take you maybe like about let's see, 30 minutes. 30 minutes at best, because you're just reading through from the titles and just saving them. And that will have taken you through almost all the libraries in all the continents of the world, everywhere. That's the beauty of the ICT in literature review. So you don't need to be going to a library with the World Bank or in Nigeria or all over Burundi. You get them sitting right there on your screen. Now, let me tell you a shortcut, which you find, I'm sure, very interesting. Let's go to page 1. Now, rather than you saving and saving and saving as you go along, what you can do, I will show you some interesting features of Google Scholar. What is this? This is my profile. I will come to it in a minute, although we don't need it for now. Then you have this, my library. I will recommend that all of you in class should register, sign up to Google so that you can have this facility, my library. Now, if I click on my library, what do I have here? I have nothing right here. So let me go back to my profile, and I'll show you what is there. My profile gives you some indication of how well you are cited. This is me, by the way, Lagos State University, my specialization, science, computer and environment education, quality assurance in education, and the like. Now, we're going to come to this. We are going to see some matrices, some measures of me as a scholar. These are my citations, all 3,789 since 2013. This. My H index, my I-10 index, these are the ones. I will encourage you to sign up for Google Scholar so that you can have these matrices measures. So these are some of my articles over the years. P. Okebukola and Jegede, Okebukola, and Warder. Yeah, you see, this is an interesting article that, when I was visiting professor at the Koti University of Technology in Australia, I had with my Indonesian students the gender factor in computer anxiety and interest among some Australian high school students, Jegede and Okebukola, and all of that. So this goes on like that, but that's not why we are here. Yeah, we are here to check out all this literature that we are trying to select. So how does this my library come into it? Did you see this star here? Did you see this star here? That is the thing. Now, watch what is going to happen. Non-farm entrepreneurship in rural sub-Saharan Africa, no empirical evidence. No, I don't like that. Assessing the cross-sectional and intertemporal validity of the household. That's the one we talked before. So all you need to do, look at here. You can see it has come up with, let me make it bigger so that you will see what we mean. Look at this. It's coming up as save. Okay, let me reduce it a little bit. So this one, save. Just click on this. And you can see the turning, it has saved it to the library. We keep going. Potential impact of alternative agricultural practices, Rwanda. Maybe we take it. So this. Employment conditions in Senegalese, I said no. Agri-technology adoption, smallholder rice farmers, welfare in rural Nigeria. Okay, maybe we want this. Determinants of market participation, we don't need that. Okay, so we want this, the Conde one. We'll go on to the next. So that is the shortcut I'd like you to adopt. That is, sign into Google Scholar, and how do you do that? Just Google Scholar and then go to sign in. Diversification, climate risk, maybe not. An economic spread, no. KwaZulu-Natal, macro, this. So it's left to you. This looks good. Evidence from Burundi. This looks good. This error. This looks good. Now, it's left to you to select the one that you want, and that's actually the first level, which you can do much returning home after full security. Okay, so you go on to all the others. Now, let's now go back to this, my library. If you click on my library, we'll select about 4 or 5 of this, so you can see. Yeah, so you can see those are the ones I've just selected. So this is better for you. All you need to do is click on that save star, and then it will save all of this to your library. So this now be your second step. Now, second step will now be for you to download the papers. But before that, let me show you one thing that we'll need to do as we look at that table, that summary table. Now, that leads me to quickly show you that summary table, and of course, we will get back to it. So I've called it the matrix for summarizing literature review. By the way, you can't get it anywhere. It's based on my own experience. So you can call it the Okebukola matrix if you like. By the way, you don't need to put Okebukola there. Just matrix for summarizing literature review. So you have serial number. That's the first number 1. You have got to enter the details of each of those studies into here. Why am I bringing it up early? I'm bringing it up early because of this. Full reference of the article or paper or book or whatever. Then, so I want to fill this cell here. So how do I fill the cell? Now, if you look at this is a quote. This is a quote. This is a quote. This is a quote. You know, for your doctoral study or for your paper, scholarly paper, you got to put the full citation, the full reference there. And there are different referencing styles, and you got to follow the styles. The one that I am used to in my computer science education, environment education, is called the APA, American Psychological Association, the APA referencing format. So what you'll do for this article, you need to just double click. You can see cite. Double click on cite, or maybe single click, and it comes with a cite. You can see this is the MLA citation. This is the APA. That's my own American Psychological Association. You have the Chicago. You have the Harvard. You have the Vancouver, and then you can send it to the BibTeX, EndNote, and RefMan and RefWorks. But what I want to do, because I want the APA, so what we should do, you just click on this and copy it. Copy, and then come back to your, let's see where we are. Yeah, come back to your matrix and just paste. Simple. So you don't need, I really love this. Google Scholar has done it very well for us. Rather than you begin to type, let me close this, begin to type Vermin P, Munoz Mora, JC, 2018, returning home for this, I'll be doing the citation. I'm missing the Journal of Development Studies. I'm missing the technicalities of that citation. All you need to do, just click on this. Let's take the second one. Just click on this site. And this is it. Copy. Very nice. I really love this. So that is ICT for you. How you use ICT for a literature review. That is one of the good things. So right click and paste. So that's it. That's number 2. That's number 2 study. Let me do one more. I close this. Testing farm size. You click on this. Yes, you can see it's rolling. It gives me this. I right click. I copy. I close this. I come to here. I do my number 3. Yeah. And this. I paste. So we have done it. Very nice. Yes, of course. All of this will be in your library. And then you can come and do what? Now you begin to save those ones that you have selected out of the 170 something to your hard drive. So we just go. Let's see. We've saved this one. Let's save this. Bosworth versus Malthus. Okay, we've not saved this. So let's see this one. Yeah, so that's it. Sam Desire and Magdase contributed paper to this in 2015. So let's save it. Save as. So we can call this one good 3. Okay, so we'll have saved the ones that we think are good for our literature review. Now back to the steps. We have scanned the pages, we have selected, and we have saved the relevant studies in our local drive. Step number 1 done, 2 done, 3 done. Number 4, this is where you spend some little time to read through and review each saved study and enter review into the summary table. All we have entered in the summary table is just the full reference, the citation. So let's go back now and read through every article. I'm just going to do 1 or 2, and I will leave you to do the rest for your literature review. And then number 5 is how you write it. How you write all you have in the summary table as a literature review chapter of your doctoral thesis. Yeah, so we'll get back now to where we saved it, where we saved it as saved literature. So we'll go to good 1. Let me click on good 1. Yes, so this is it. So you spend some time to read through this, assessing the cross-sectional and intertemporal validity of the household food security access skill in Burundi. What are we looking for when we are reading this? This is what you keep in mind, and that takes us to the metrics. We're looking for the theme within, or I think we can change it to sub-theme. Yeah, no, theme is fine. Theme within your study, the major findings, the strengths of that paper, the weaknesses of the paper, and the value that it has added to other related studies, and the lessons that you will learn. I note that in the virtual class, some students said, oh, they learn new vocabulary. That's important. As a young up and coming doctoral student that will become a professor one day and contributing to national and global literature, you should have some lens of vocabulary as you read. So you can note some vocabulary, new methodology that the person is coming up with. That's why I would like you to review studies between 2015 or 2016 and 2018. This will give you some recent methods, the new data analysis technique, and others. What lessons have you learned? So, in preparing you for this lesson, our virtual class asks that you should take one article and read them thoroughly and come up with the major findings, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the lessons that you have learned. So we are going to bring in our experience from that to here. So let me review some of the things that you did with you. Yeah, so here we go. These are the reviews that you did. Richard, let me remind us of what Richard did. Richard looked at social audit, and he looked at this is the article, and he gave us the strengths of the paper. He gave us the weaknesses of the paper, and he gave us the 3 lessons learned. So all you are doing is, for every article, you do exactly like this. Let's take some other. Let's look at Henry. If you go back to our to the virtual class we had a few days ago, you'll be able to see this. So this is the article that's relevant to his study. These are the 3 lessons that he learned, and these are the strengths, and these are the weaknesses. So we got it all like that. So I think those 2 examples we do, because everybody in the class researched an article, extracted an article, read through the article, looked at the strengths, looked at the weaknesses, and then summarized the whole thing that way. So if I now take you back to the matrix for summarizing literature review, we did last week during the virtual class. We had this, the full reference. You had this theme. We didn't have it. The major findings, you have it. The strengths, you have it. The weaknesses, you have it. The lessons learned, you have it. So what you need to do is to include the theme and then the value added to other related studies, and you'll be able to populate this matrix. This matrix, when you have done it, your literature review is almost complete. All you are doing now is synthesizing, bringing all of these together. So let us still proceed with our practical work. For this study, let's go to it. Yeah, so this is intertemporal validity of the household food security access skill. So this develop the themes about instruments for measuring household food insecurity. So this one will be the instrument. So I can just go back there and put that as the theme of the paper. The theme will be instruments for measuring. Let me make it bigger so that we can all see it better. Household insecurity. Okay, household. So the major findings, you can get this from the abstract. Let's go back to the abstract. Of course, you have to read it. Results, 2-bit models showed, let's make it bigger. Yep. Yes, that's it. 2-bit models showed that the HFIAS was significantly correlated with objective measures of food security. In this case, it confirms that HFIAS is a cross-sectionally valid and corroborates the findings of previous studies. However, while total this. So what you can do after reading this, you may just take the one that you think belongs, and then we can copy this and go back to our major findings and paste. By the way, at the background now, I'll be using Control V. If you check this, it will put, because it's converting from this to this, you can just close this up like this. Close this up like this. Close this up like this. You over time be modifying. Yeah, so I've closed everything here. This finding questions the intertemporal validity of the HFIAS. It may be partly explained through response shifts in which households assess their own food security status in comparison to that of their peers. Now, this is important for maybe its strengths. Its strengths will be it questions the explain through this. Yeah, it will not be, no, it may not be sufficient for you to just get this directly from the abstract. So that is why you have to read everything to be able to get the strengths and the weaknesses, and on the basis of that, this food production. So you have to read, there are 11, you can see now, 11 pages. You have to read, that's why the literature review, you have to review it, be analytical, be critical of this. So maybe I go to learn a new analysis technique from here. So methodology, so cross-sectional validity, and all of that. Now, I'm going to read this, and then while at it, I will give you the summary of what I'm able to derive on my matrix. So discussion, appearance or show that this, okay. So you can pause. I mean, well, I'm pausing. I'm taking you offline now, and then I'm going to read through this and get back to you. So just hang on there. Okay, so see what we have done. The full reference I did before, the theme within my study. This one is talking about an instrument. So it is instrument for measuring household security. This one will be important when we are doing the subheads for writing my report on the literature review. So what are the findings? This confirms that the HFIAS is cross-sectionally valid and corroborates all of this. So these are the findings. The strengths. It is conducted, let me put this as 2 bullets. The bullets are 2. Okay. So let me make this bigger so we can see as we go along. It is conducted within Burundi, my study area. So that's of help. It is one of the early studies to test HFIAS as an instrument. Now it shows that the HFIAS is cross-sectionally, I think, valid indicator of food. These are its strengths. The weaknesses, the sample size is small, and the assumptions for the statistic used may not have been met. What are the values that it has added? What value added? The study did not focus on the internal validity of HFIAS, as this aspect of the indicator has already been validated in previous studies. So the value is that it didn't just go to the internal validity, but because that one has been proven over the years, but it focused on the external. So what are the lessons that I learned in this study? Let's see now. Yeah, new vocabulary, new methodology. I learned of the need. Let me put this as bullets also. Back here, yeah. The need to use an instrument that is an indicator of food insecurity that is internally, cross-culturally, cross-sectionally, and temporarily valid and that captures all aspects of food insecurity. Yeah. And then the new method of, I'll also learn new method of calculating sensitivity analysis. Where is that now? Let me show you. There's a new method for calculating sensitivity analysis that that came up, which I saw while I was reading this. Okay, add descriptive statistics. Yeah, I'll just get to it in a minute. Yeah, sensitivity analysis. This is a very important method that I learned here. So that's article number 1. It could be article number 1 of 500 or 200 or 20 that we'll be reviewing, but we are going to put them in this matrix. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a matrix that will now help us for the last step in writing up the literature review. So let's even take one. Let's assume that this one is one of the studies that we had before. Let's take that of Richard. Let's assume that this is the thing. So all you need to do is just be copying lessons learned. You are copying this like this. Copy. Coming to the matrix. And then the lessons learned is here. Yeah. So you just paste. So apparently we have done the anyway, it can be formatting later. So we have done 4 of the tables here, of the columns. We have done this. We can put this one there, the major findings, the strengths, the weaknesses, lessons learned. So all you are doing is just doing the value added. So all members of the class, you have had some practice in doing the things that will go into this matrix. Well done. Yes, a little technique before we round up this matrix, which is that you can see the subheads here. If you go to the next page, you can see you have missed subject. I don't know whether this one is the major finding, whether this one is this, whether this one is that, and it goes on, you don't know what it is. So the technique that I want you all to learn, because this table, this matrix may run for 40 pages. We have done only 2, and we have 2.25 pages here. So you want this subheads, or rather these heads, to be showing everywhere. So what you'll do, listen carefully. Let me even improve the design of this. Let me say I use a green. Yep, like this, a green. Let's move this one here. So let me tell you what I did again. Let me undo. What I did was to go to design, and I selected a design. You can select any design. Let me select this one. Okay, I've selected this. So what I did was just to move this so that I can see. I moved this here. Just move this one here so I can see the table. What I was saying is we don't know what subhead is this one. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows. So to know, all you need to do is go to layout. You see layout here. Just click on any one here, layout, and click. Look at this one, repeat header rows. I do not know which version of Microsoft Word you are using, but whichever one it is, it has this facility. So just look for it. So when I click repeat header rows, you can see I've clicked it. Let's go to page 2. You can see we have it here. Isn't that nice? Yes, of course it is nice. Let's go to page 3. You can see we have it here. So I will encourage you to use it. You want me to repeat it? Yes, I can. Let me undo. Yeah, so you can see I've undone it twice. So I move this one here. I just click on this set. Just click on, look, anywhere here, anywhere here, any of this head, and then you go to layout, and then go to repeat header rows. So that is it here. Wonderful. Saving. So back to our steps. Number 1 done. We've taken it 2. Number 2 done. We've saved. Number 3 we have scanned. Number 4 and we've saved. Number 4 we have read through, and we have entered the review into the summary table. Number 5 and the last for this lesson is we want to now write our review chapter from the entries in the summary table. Now it becomes more interesting. Yeah, so here we go, writing literature review from the matrix. Let's begin with tips for writing a good literature review. Some tips. Now, your literature review will be a chapter, and that's for a doctoral thesis. For a scholarly paper, it's just going to be a section. For the doctoral thesis, is typically like a chapter 2 after the chapter 1, the introductory chapter. It can be any chapter number based on the guidelines of your university or what your supervisor says. But for most universities that I'm familiar with, and in my area, science education, computer education environment, it is chapter 2, literature review. So this is the chapter, this is what you're going to have while writing up. You're going to have an introduction, and you're going to have several subsections, because subsections are different from one thesis to another. So I can't put the names here. So you can have subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3 and 4, then summary and unanswered questions. That will be the last but one section of your literature review, and then you have the conclusion. Let's look at a couple of doctoral theses using this kind of format. Yeah, let's look at one PhD one from that I'm supervisor of. What we have here, let me just scroll very quickly down to the literature review, the abstract, table of contents. Okay, chapter 1 is introduction. Chapter 2 is a review of related literature, like literature review. You have the introduction, you have the theoretical framework, and then these are the sections. Sections. And then you have empirical studies on this, appraisal of review literature, and then conclusion. Let's take another one. Yeah, let's take this one. It's from South Africa, one of the top universities in South Africa. You have chapter 2, literature review. You have the introduction, nature of science and all that. Then the different sections, practical considerations. You have a summary there. So this is another pattern. Let's take a third pattern. This one is potency of student. Well, that's the title. It's a doctoral person that I supervised, and you can see we have let's go there now. Okay, fine. You have chapter 1, which is the introduction, and you have chapter 2, which is review of related literature. You have the introduction, theoretical framework, and then you have the different sections. As I said, the sections will reflect the thing that is being studied. The area that is being studied. You have appraisal of literature review and conclusion. So these are different models. So as I said earlier, the sections are different. What will be common is to have an introduction and you have a conclusion. But this one is very important: the summary and the unanswered questions. So let's go on to yes. You see, for every section of the review, if you note, we have all these sections: subsection 1, this. For every let's say for every section there or subsection, you should have an overview of the subject or issue or theory under consideration, and then you must provide those in support of a particular position, and those against, and those offering alternative thesis entirely. Let's go back to our matrix, because from our matrix that will be getting all of this. Okay, let me finish with this and then you go to our matrix. Explanation of how each work is similar to and how it varies from the others. Then conclusions as to which studies are best considered in the argument, and the ones that are most convincing of their opinions, and the ones that make greatest contribution to literature in the area. So back to our matrix, because it's from this matrix that we're using for writing the literature review. Now, for the sections, this will be the theme within your study. You can use this to aggregate to the different sections. And then you have the major findings. This will let you know whether they are agreeing or disagreeing, the strengths, the weaknesses, This is very important, the value added to other related studies. So this is where you'll be using for the critique. And of course, this one will be lessons learned that you can also be using. So this matrix is very, very, very important. So you want to make a note of it. We're going to share it with you in class. And maybe you want to pause this video. Pause the video and you can take a screenshot of this to enable you use the table outside of this lesson. Yeah, so let's look about citations. You'll be citing in the literature review, you'll be making reference and all that. So there are two types mainly, the integral one and the non-integral one. What is the integral citation? This is where you have the author name appears in the sentence. As you have the author and date system. For instance, you have Shabani 2013 argues that diversity of cultural expressions is context specific. It can be non-integral. That's going to be, you have this one at the end of the sentence. The author's name appears outside sentence. So it can then read, diversity of cultural expressions in Africa, including dance, dress, and language, is dependent on the local context. Good. There you have Shabani 2013. These are the two types of citations. Now, this slide is very important. If you ask me to pick the slide that is most important in this presentation, it is this one. Because we did say that the good literature review should be evaluative, should be critical, should not just be a storytelling narrative kind of thing. Let me refer you to that table in a minute. Yeah, so here's the table. We said the good literature review should report critical analysis and synthesis. It must synthesize, it must be critical analysis of previous research and extract answered questions. It is evaluative rather than mere descriptive. So this is what must reflect in your writing of the literature review. So let's go back to our guide. So it is this. Yeah, this is one of our students coming on. I'm going to read this. Although I don't like people reading PowerPoint slides. By the way, I'm not using PowerPoint. I'm using another software called Prezi. It's a good software, as you may have noticed. It is not Microsoft PowerPoint. So, as I said, I don't like people reading like this. It's insulting to the audience. But for the purpose of what I'm reading, I'm going to read every word. So let's look at it. While the study by Nizigama 2018, which compared the implementation of gender policies in Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda, showed huge similarities, that of Melan's 2014 failed to reach similar conclusions. This can be ascribed to the methodological flaw in Menan's 2014 study, which used very small sample sizes from the three countries. So you can see here, we have synthesized, we have critiqued, and we have explained. Let's look at the second one. Many of the findings of studies conducted on the contribution of GIS applications for wastewater management over the last 6 years are in accord regarding the usefulness of GIS software. And then you indicate those who are in accord, those who have carried out the research. Mpundu 2015, Mokabo 2016, and Ngezebuhoro 2017. By the way, these are students in our class. However, Ndayishimiye 2018. You know, Richard is working on the social audit. Good man. However, Ndayishimiye 2018, working on social audit, has disagreed with these findings on the strength of previous studies, not recognizing social audit as a factor in wastewater management. So we have not just come here to say Zigama found that so and so, Melan's found so and so. We have critically analyzed, we have synthesized, and we have evaluated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we should be reporting our literature review, and you can derive this from that matrix that we prepared. So in citing sources, there are some things you should avoid. Avoid plagiarism. It's going to get into trouble. Avoid irrelevant quotations that are not relevant to what you are discussing. And you must put one sentence or two before having your quotation. So we don't need to, you should not have unintroduced quotations. So the final checklist, this is another very important slide in this presentation. After you have finished writing your report, what are you supposed to do? Now use this checklist. Ladies and gentlemen, use this checklist. Now what is it? Ask your questions. Have I fulfilled the purpose of the literature review? Yes. Are the facts correct? You go through all of them. Yes. Is all the information included relevant? You check the ones that are not relevant, throw them out. Is the language clear, concise, and academic? Yes. You recall that let me take you back to that slide about poor literature review and good literature review. Here we say should be, this is confusing, long-winded, and uncoordinated. Here is very clear, concise, and arranged in themes or interconnected segments. So yes, concise. Is the body organized logically? Logically, introduction, the different sections, summary, unanswered questions, and conclusion. Does the conclusion interpret, analyze, and evaluate? Are the recommendations reasonable? Now, have I acknowledged all the sources of information through correct referencing? Have I checked spelling? Have I checked grammar? Have I checked punctuation? And the last on the final checklist is, have I carefully proofread the final draft? If you have done all of this, then you are good to go to your supervisor and say, yes, here is my literature review chapter. What have we learned in this lesson? This lesson, we'll try to define the term literature, noting that in the first introductory part, being defined in French, Salacor interpreted in English, and we had some. But later, we also had a definition by Fraser, 2012. We stated the purpose of literature review. You know, you're going to have a test in a few days for this lesson, so your test is going to be built on the objectives of this lesson. All of this will be part of the test, just 10 items. We differentiated between good and poor literature reviews. We identified the steps in literature review using ICT, 5 steps. So please note those 5 steps. And we conducted practical exercises on the 5 steps on the use of ICT for conducting literature review. The next lesson is going to be equally nice, equally exciting. I'll be looking at the methodology part of this, our work. ICT in the methodology part. And we'll be looking at ICT with regard to instrumentation, data collection in doctoral studies. And before I go, Richard shared this in his slide. Murakose Kane, thank you. And I also got one last one, Nagasaga. I don't know why I pronounce it right, but what I'm saying is goodbye for now. I am Peter Okebukola, your facilitator. It's a delight presenting this lesson. I look forward to seeing you in lesson 5 on, remind you again, instrumentation and data collection in doctoral studies. So bye-bye for now, and thank you for your attention.